Afternoon. Welcome to the January 12th meeting of the Rotary Club of Milledgeville. I haven't done this in about a month. I'm a little rusty. Oh geez. Yeah, I'm obviously rusty. I don't even know who our Rotarian of the day is. Do we have any volunteers? Are you?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Come on.
Here's the deal. I was gonna sit over here and not say a word. And then you saw me and you're like,
Yeah,
what?
I was like, wait a minute, the look on his face and then it clicked. It's like, oh, right, Erin's not here. She asked Steve.
Yeah, Joy was gonna tell on me. So Erin asked me to switch with her. So that, yes. That's why I sat there for a long time, so that you would look at me. Anyway, you'll join me in prayer, please. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for laughter. Thank you for the people that are here. Thank you for our club and everything that we do for our communities. Thank you for this food that we had today and let it bless our bodies and be with us as we leave here today. In your name we pray, amen. All right, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And the full weight tests first. Second. Third. Fourth. Will it be given? Fifth.
Is it fun? All right. Thank you, Keith. All right, as you sit down, remember the cart buckets. I had a month's worth of spare change in my car that I had got to dump in finally instead of hauling it and hearing it jingling in my car. Greg, are you ready with guests and raffle?
Down to 28 cards, that's half a deck. And while I don't remember the exact number, but it's got to be over $750.
Wow.
So first of all, we'll introduce our guest. We have Kathy Jo Gordon. She's a Rotarian in Jones County, right? And she's helping here in the college. And then Yada, or did I pronounce your name right? Cartry, okay. It's also with the cottages, and we're glad to have you. Thank you. Tom, guest speaker, we'll draw one out there and hand it to me. Thank you, sir. I brought my glasses today. Ending in 991. Ending in 991. Sorry, Michelle.
That's fine. We trust you. Yeah. Well, we trust her. I'm not sure I trust the rest of y'all. Yeah.
We got the Jack of Diamonds.
Oh, getting close. Getting close. All right. Thank you, Greg. Yep. All right. Is William here? I don't see William. Do we have any prayer requests? No, that's always a good thing. Are there any community announcements? Really? No first of the year kickoff stuff? All right. Club business. District conference is coming up in April. And as you know, Erin is in charge of that this year, and we're going to need about 6 people to help her from this club to help with registration and check-in at district conference. And I'll be sending the link to you this afternoon for you to register and get signed up for that. And I mean, it's Rotary and Callaway Gardens. It's 2 wonderful things. Why wouldn't you want to go to district conference? So cool. All right. Any other club business anyone needs to bring up? No? All right. Well, Tamara, I'll hand it over to you to introduce our speaker. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we had our first Taco Tuesday 2 nights ago at El Tequila, and it was fantastic. We had a lot of fun. There were about 6 of us there. And so we'll be doing that the second Tuesday of every month, and just watch your email. We'll probably wind up just rotating it because we got plenty of Mexican restaurants in town. So cool.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rotary today. I wanted to introduce our guest. He's joining us from Williams County. Greensboro, yeah, and he is deeply experienced in security and I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. It's been a couple of days. Security experience, and he's worked with 4 presidencies as well as, so the problem is I can see myself. As well as he provides consulting for schools and for businesses and other entities that are looking for security solutions. If you will, please welcome Robert Johnson. He's with School Safety Strategies.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jennifer, Tamara, for having me here. So School Safety Strategies, and my introduction was right on. Just a little background. A lot of people think of safety and security and they think, well, I think anyone can do it. We'll just put up a couple of cameras around the outside of the building. We're good to go. That's it. That's our security. It's not really works that way. For the past 30 years, I've been involved with law enforcement. I was with the New York City Police Department for 22 years. During that time, I was on several task forces. But one of the big job descriptions I had was, excuse me, when it came to dignitary protection. And that was when the president came into town, or all these dignitaries that come in for different, UNGA, which is the General Assembly of the United Nations. So they would come into town and work with us on our unit. And I'm going to lead into where I'm going with this with school safety strategies. I'm just going to switch this. So this group here is the group of school safety strategies. We have different professionals from all over the country, not just law enforcement. Up in the right-hand corner, Donna Basing. She's a school administrator, superintendent of a district. It was kind of her and I who came together with this because of all the different school mandates up north. And obviously, you can tell I'm from up north. I'm not from here. And I will tell you, I'm not a runner of COVID. I fought here before COVID, and I've been living here for a little over 2 years now. And I have to tell you, if I could have made the change earlier, I would have, but the job was holding me back there. So Donna and I came up with school safety strategies. We have all of these other experts from around the country. We have a Louisiana. We have Sean, who's from New York, but now down in Florida, Max in California, Dave Morgan in New Jersey, and Ray DeBenedictis over here up in Westchester County also. So the way this was formed was, switch this. I don't have my Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook happened on December 14th of 2012. Sandy Hook was 2 towns away from where we were living. I was living in a small town at that time, and after Sandy Hook happened, a lot of schools started to think about security much differently. Unfortunately, Columbine didn't make that change for them. Sandy Hook did. So I was contacted by this small school where my children were attending and said, hey, we're struggling here a little bit. We know you've done this before. Can you come and take a look and review our policies and what we have in place? So I got there and I was expecting this big booklet of, what they are, what they're going to do in the event of different emergencies. And they hand me like a pamphlet of like 3 pieces of paper. And they say, here's our safety and security. And I kind of looked at it and I'm like, wow, this is a lot different than I thought. And then the principal at that time was a great principal, just didn't know security. And that's why they're a principal and I'm security. So we started to review it, and this is just saying that I worked with the UN and 4 presidents. So we started this plan the safety plan, to develop the safety plan for the school. We redesigned the entrance because at that time, you could just walk right into the school, right? It was friendly. And that's the way schools are supposed to be. We don't want to make them prisons, I understand that. But we also can't make it so easy. And everybody was able to just walk in the front door, walk through the school, and then go to the desk and talk to the receptionist. It wasn't a good plan. So what we did is we changed their whole front entrance, compartmentalized it a little bit more. Now, if you are familiar with Sandy Hook was Adam Lanzer, was a student there. When he went back to the school after killing his mom, he walked up to the door. The door actually was locked. But Adam Lanzer got through the door. The door had safety glass on it, which is made to crumble instead of just penetrate and make the hole the size of the bullet. It's made to crumble. So it crumbles. He reached in, he opened the door, walked into the door, and that's where he began to shoot. So we redesigned the entrance here. We hardened the building on the outside. It's a one-floor building, which many schools are, even down here. But I deal with a lot in New York City, which are multiple stories, but this is a one-story building. Any one of those windows can be penetrated, which is the break, and the glass is going to come down. So we put on a 3M safety film. We designed this emergency flip guide. It goes in every classroom. And it kind of gives a teacher who's in there, could be a substitute, in the event of any of these emergencies, just a quick chart of what to do. We improved our communication and surveillance equipment. Communication is everything. In any emergency, the one thing we all always depend on is communication. You went with different types of radios. How do we get in touch with each other? Code words. We did all that. We put some surveillance equipment on and visitor management. This way, nobody can just walk into the school. There's different, what I call interviews before they get into the school. This right here, most schools at that time, believe it or not, God bless you, were they're going online and looking up like, how do I secure my school? Or they would hire a security company, and I'm not going to say anything negative in regard to the security company, but what they would do is just, okay, this is what you have to do. Put up some cameras. We're going to put up your cameras. We're going to, change the way you walk into the school, and that's going to be it. It was kind of a cookie cutter approach. I protected all these different presidents and all these different dignitaries. And when a president comes to town, it's weeks before. It's weeks before that the planning starts. And it's so detailed down to the minute of where they're going to be at every step of the way. And the emergency plans are what if? It's always what if. I mean, what if this thing to death? And we spend hours, countless hours on it. I looked at this and I said, well, we do all this for our presidents, and I understand, very important person. But what about our children? They're just as important to me. They should have the same security as a president. And that's where school safety strategy started. I do not take a cookie cutter approach to anything. I'll pass this around. This is the final product of one of the schools that I've done, where this is tailor-made to this Head Start school. And it's to a district, or it's to a specific school. They get their own, and in this is so detailed, and it's given to not just the school, it's given to our sheriff. I'm a liaison with the different law enforcement agencies because I know the language. I speak with them, we get together, I tell them what changes I'm looking to make and how can we coordinate it with you. In the event of an emergency, what are we going to do? Because I'll tell you, parents, what are we going to do? We're all going to the school, right? And on my videos that I have of, when I'm doing a teacher presentation is, I'll show you Sandy Hook. It looks like an hourglass. The first car that got there was a parent. They stopped the car. They didn't go onto campus. There was one way in. They got out of the car and they ran. And it just went like this from there. No law enforcement, no emergency services can get there at that time. So it delayed us getting an emergency response, because that's what parents are gonna do, unless you have a plan. And of course, parents are not always gonna pay attention to that plan, and I don't blame you, like, hey, something's going on at school, I gotta get there. Well, when you get there, what are we gonna do? Because if you just run on campus, you're not the victim, and you're also a problem for law enforcement who's trying to find out exactly what's going on. Where are they? Where is this individual? Are they still active, or are they barricaded in a class? We don't know. So planning on this is big, and that's why we detail our plans right to your school. The state of Connecticut, after I finished their book, and I call it the Red Book, they adopted my plan because they didn't have anything. They didn't even have anything. They were kind of like, all right, every school is on their own, and that is state mandates. What do we need? What must we have in place to keep our children safe? Some of the safety plan, we identify emergency teams. When I go over with the teachers, once this book is made, and I'm just finishing school here, and I've had 2 meetings with the teachers now. It's Gatewood School, I'm sure you all know that. We've had 2 meetings with them, and we talk to the teachers. And we talk to them a lot about what their concerns are. Because sometimes me sitting with the teachers without superintendent, a principal, a headmaster, the teachers share a little bit more to me about what their concerns are. After Sandy Hook, I remember I was in one school and we broke down into, this was a big district, and we broke down into grades. And the grades were there, and one of the teachers were there, and she had been there for quite some time. She was ready for retirement. And in the middle of, as we're talking about it, she breaks down crying. And I said, what's going on? And she said, I never wanted to tell anybody this, but because we're in a small group, I'll tell you. And I said, what happened? And she said, I teach in a classroom. She teaches 2nd grade children. And as a matter of fact, she has a wall just like that in her classroom, one of these removed, walls that are like accordion walls. And she says, I was teaching my 2nd graders, and on the other side, there's another class going on. And I guess one of the children on the other side banged into the wall, and a photo fell. Whatever the picture was had glass on it. It fell and hit the ground. She heard a pop. She heard glass break. Now this is 3 weeks after Sandy Hook. Everybody was it was fresh. He said, I panicked. She says, when I heard that glass break, I thought that somebody was entering our school. And I said, okay. And I thought she was in fear because of that. But she says, no, it's not okay. She says, it's the way I acted. I went underneath the desk and I hid. And I left 26 students out there who were in 2nd grade on their own. She says, but my body froze. It's just the way it did. And she said, I've never talked to anybody about this, but she did. So sometimes in smaller groups, it always helps to talk. Unfortunately, she retired soon after that. She couldn't take what she had gone through. So our safety plan is very interactive with the teaching. I want the teachers to feel comfortable. I want the faculty. If it's a business I'm with, I want the people who are in the business to feel comfortable when they're at work. Work atmosphere is everything. Workplace violence. We want you to feel comfortable about it. We talk about reunification staging. That's kind of what I talked about. If there is an emergency, look, we're in high school. Let's be for real. In high school, I will tell you right now, your high schoolers are going to run. If there's an emergency, they've been taught. And listen, I teach evacuation, so I'm okay with it. And some superintendents are not. They're like, no way. They stay in the school. Well, yeah, you got like some of these high schoolers, 11th and 12th graders, 6'4", 210 pounds. They're going through that door. They're going to get out. And what are you going to do if they run and they live? Are you going to say you're suspended because you live? right? No, it's not gonna be that way. That's good. They reacted the way they did, but if we have a plan in place of a reunification or a staging location, we give them areas that if something was to happen, this is where you can go. And at least this way, it's easier for us as professionals or teachers to keep our attendance and know where they're at. Detailed school diagrams, evacuation plan, like I talked about, what to do in different emergencies, weather-related emergencies, bomb threats, lockdowns. Teachers are in a position where custody battles, you've heard of them. If there's a custody battle going on, that parent knows where their child is in that school. And a lot of schools are open. They're able to walk into that school. And they walk into the classroom, and I talk to teachers about it all the time. All of a sudden, a parent shows up. They enter your classroom, they close the door. And they had a bad morning because of custody this week. And they close that door. Nobody's leaving. What is that? That's a hostage situation, right? A lot of times we think of hostage situations, we think of the Middle East, right? Person has a blindfold on, they're underneath. No, this is a true hostage situation. You as a teacher, how are you gonna handle that? You talk to a person, you look the hostage taker in the eye, you sit down. What do you do? So a lot of our planning is talking with the professionals, making them understand these different scenarios. We do a scenario-based training. The teacher development days, that's what I'm talking about right there. Knowing our surroundings, knowing how to get out, critical thinking, that's the most important part. Critical thinking in a stressful situation, it all comes from planning. When I talk to professionals who are going overseas for travel, we talk a lot about your emergency preparedness. Hotels. You get to a hotel, what do? We all do the same thing. Get our card, we get checked in, we go to whatever floor it's on, we drop our luggage. Now we all kind of do different things. Once you drop your luggage, you know who's relaxing. Not me, I'm crazy. I'm checking cleanliness and I'm over the edge. My wife hates me when I travel. But once we get there, we kind of all do the same thing. But there's one thing I do a little bit extra, and my family hates me. Because right after we drop our luggage, they know the next step, they're going out back out in the hallway. And we're not just gonna look and see exit here and exit there and say it's over with. No, it's not. On my videos, I show the difference. We walk it. A lot of times you get to that exit sign and there's no stairwell there. There's another hallway. Okay, well, there's an exit sign down there. And you get to that one and maybe there's another one and then there's your stairwell. Good, that's great. But 3 o'clock in the morning, that smoke alarm goes off and we open that door up and it's filled with smoke. That's a different game right there, right? We got about 2.5 minutes of breathing smoke in before we go unconscious. So you don't have that much time. You're staying low, you're panicking, get your family with you. You say, oh, I know there was an exit sign down there. And you get there finally because you go to the end of the hallway because you can't see nothing. True smoke, you can't see nothing. You can't see a foot in front of your face. That exit sign, you'll never see it. Never. And you get there and all of a sudden, my exit's not there. Now you're panicking, you're breathing. It's different. So always walking, right? Always walk it, take 2 minutes. This way you can find it blindfolded. We do role play. Bomb threats. Bomb threats are really prevalent up north. I don't know what's going on, but schools up north don't need to evacuate on a bomb threat anymore. So many. They're not evacuating. They have different code words. They're going to scan the area. We're going to talk about what are we looking for? What are the teachers looking for? And if we have to evacuate, how do we evacuate? During Florida, Nicholas Cruz, Parkland shooting. Nicholas Cruz, the first thing he did exactly what happened to Parkland. I'm sorry, Columbine. Columbine High School, after the event happened, started, teachers, well, listen, I gotta get my kids out of school, right? Went over, pulled the fire alarm, good idea. Good thing. But what did it do? It drew everybody out to the hallway. A lot of the student body and the teachers didn't know that there was a shooting going on in the cafeteria. So they walk down the hallway ever since we're in kindergarten. Go out the hallway, single file, don't talk, don't run, everybody walk straight ahead, right? Rose saw that. Well, guess what? Klebold and Harris walked out in that hallway and they saw long, straight, narrow, and all these people in the line. So there was an event going on. By pulling that fire alarm, drew everybody out. Nicholas Cruz, you learned from that? That was the first thing he did. He pulled out the line, drew everybody out to the hallway, and then began to shoot. So we talk about role plays. The videos are somewhat graphic, but they're real. That's my active shooter training. The video, the presentation I do is called Living. It's a great presentation. It took all those professionals sitting down, putting it together to make us realize, or whoever is watching it, to realize, what do I do? How do I think clearly in this situation? Because what you may think, you say, hey, I'm going to act this way. If that person is here, he shoot, I'm going right after him. Your body all of a sudden freezes. You can't physically move. I will tell you, in law enforcement, I saw the craziest thing happen, and I'll never forget it. It was we were going to do a search warrant. Long story short, I was doing a search warrant. I was a team leader at this time. I didn't know the team. They were brand new. So I was kind of like sizing up people like, what to use in what situation. So I picked the big guy. Right? I want my big guy. He can see me. This person, I put it all together. Well, after we entered, there was a shot was fired. And the biggest guy turned around, ran over 3 other guys, ran outside, and ran down the street. This is a guy I depended on. But he thought he should react differently. He didn't know, never in that stressful situation. So a lot of times when I'm talking to people and I say, well, what's the first reaction? You talk about that run, hide, fight. I say, what's the first thing you would do? And I get some big people and they're like, oh no, I'm taking the guy out. Listen, if you can, I would. But the bullet travels faster than anybody can move. And you have to think different because you don't know how you're going to react. Right now, we're the lead instructors at Kennedy and LaGuardia airports. We do all their badging. We do all their safety training. We do all the people working at the World Trade Center site in the retail. So every week we do retail for World Trade Center, and we do Kennedy and LaGuardia airports. We do it virtually. That's why I'm down here. I'm also down here because you have a much better place to live. and yes, I have become a Georgia fan, Georgia Bulldogs, because listen, we don't have a team up north. We don't have one specific team. You guys have the Georgia Bulldogs. We have, who am I going to take? Albany? I don't know who we take. I really don't know. So it's been a pleasure being down here, but I also don't have the contacts that I did up north. So I'm looking to grow my business down here. I feel our presentations and our development of these plans they're second to none. And I appreciate the time that you gave me to talk about business. I'll pass this around. This is just kind of like our little guide that we make out. And if you want to flip through this is a school in Connecticut, so I don't think it's really not too confidential at this point. You not know what that is. I'll take a look at it.
Robert mentioned the materials you left on office.
Oh yeah, I also left a brochure on each table as our contact information. And again, I know that a lot of schools in particular deal with different sheriff's departments and different local law enforcement. And I understand that. And I've seen security companies who are doing schools at this time. Listen, putting a security professional, security officer in the front of your school, okay, it shows you that there's somebody there, but the planning that goes beyond that is what you need. Doesn't always just take a person. It takes the knowledge of how do we handle ourselves in emergency situations. And again, it's not a pleasant thing to talk about. Like when I get up here and I talk about school shootings, it's horrible. And you watch the video and there's parts of that video that are different and they're not comfortable. But you want to take yourself out of that comfortable zone and know your surroundings and what we're talking about. My company says I was featured in a book called Brave Hearts and in another book, NYPD. It's not good. I don't like talking about myself, but it's part of selling your business. So I didn't just wake up one morning and say, hey, I want to be a school safety professional. I didn't do it. It took a lot of talking. And I'm going to go back a little bit further. I'm almost done. I was attending the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. It's for all law enforcement professionals. Not for all of them, but there's a select few that get to go to it. And I was selected and I was down there, and this was after Columbine, but prior to Sandy Hook. Years I there, 2003, I believe I was there. And one of the professionals, one of these law enforcement professionals from Galveston, Texas, comes up to me. I can hardly understand him, but he was a great guy. And he said to me, wow, he said, New York City Police Department, you guys must know everything about school shootings. He says, I'm the school resource officer down in Galveston, one of them. He says, and I go around to all these different schools and I provide all these resource officers. And he says, what could you share? What can you help me with? And I said, I really can't. New York City Police Department, 38,000 police officers. And I will tell you, we had no plan. We still don't have good plans. He, as a sheriff, had more of a plan than I ever had. I started to think about that. And I'm like, wow, we don't have anything in place as being this big department. And then that kind of led me to start to think about school shootings and how to protect our schools. And then fast forward, dignitary protection, and then putting this whole business together. Kind of the whole way school safety strategies got started. And now we've moved into business. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me. This is, like I said, it's a whole new experience down here. I'm enjoying myself. You have made me feel very comfortable. And I will tell you one thing. I know I have some GMC people over here. When we moved down here, we were originally told my boys, I was telling you, that my boys were going to go to this public school called Lake Oconee Academy. And when we got there and we went up to Lake Oconee and said, I have twin boys who are 16 years old. But at this time they were 14. He said, hey, we're here to register the boys. And he said, no, we have a lottery. I said, lottery? What does that mean? Like you got to pay a lot of money, or you got to win the lottery? So he said, no, you want something to put on a list, and we're picking soon. So I put my boys' names on there, and we were chosen like 15 and 16, and we were now left with, what school do I do? What do I do? So people in the area mentioned Gatewood. We went over to Gatewood, and I drove on Gatewood campus, and I was a little nervous. I'm used to like 4-story buildings, a lot of places to eat right near there, and Gatewood is in the middle of a cornfield, and I was like, wow, this is very country. And we walked in there, and then register was in there, and wonderful person. And she was like, how you all doing? Come on. And I didn't have my boys with me because I think they would have turned around and ran at that point. But my wife and I are looking at each other going, oh no. And we walked the campus and we were like, oh. And we decided to go there. And they was so welcome at this school. Every kid there opened their arms, and before I know it, they were, I can't even tell you, rabbit hunting and eating squirrels, I don't know what. So that's where we're at, but it's been a great experience, and thank you again for having me, appreciate it.
Does anybody have questions?
I left my brochures, if you need anything, please, my number's on the back there, my cell phone number, give me a call, I'd be more than happy to help you.
For business, large, small, doesn't matter, or?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, like I said, no business is too small. World Trade Center is big, we do every single business that's in there. Every new employee that's gonna come and work at the trade center, every new employee that's coming to work at the airport has to go through our training. They, sometimes I'm putting through with the airport's 200 people a day. I mean, it's that big, the turnover rate is just like this. Same with the trade center, we do once or twice a week, we do 3 classes. So, yeah, any size business. Take a look at it.
I guess as far as schools, do you see? I mean, like I said, it's not a prison, but do you think you'll ever get stuck? I mean,
Well, I've done a lot of research and I have a lot of counterparts through this FBI Academy in all over the world. And I talked to them, like I talked to my counterparts in Colombia. In Colombia, it's bad. There's certain areas that are real bad. I said, how do you protect your children at that school? And they said, we're very different than you are in the United States in the sense that our school is here, we have fencing, high fencing all around it. Parents go up to that fencing, they drop their kids off at the fencing. They never get inside that fencing.
Wow.
That's how they protect, but they have a different threat. Theirs is more of a bomb threat, a drive up with a bomb. So they have to protect that. I don't think so. I think that if we make the changes, the proper changes, and I like to get 3 interviews of a person. What I mean by 3 interviews of a person before they enter our school is outside before they come in, the door is locked. I'm seeing them on camera. They push a button, announce their presence. Okay, make sure the door shuts behind them. But even if somebody piggybacks them, gets in behind them, they're still in the next department. They're in the next area. They're not in our school right now. Now our receptionist gets to speak with them. There's another interview. At that interview, that receptionist or whoever is at that gets a really good feel for you, right? I'm looking at you. I may know you, but I want to see what your mental state is. Do I smell alcohol on your breath? Are you incoherent or something? Is something off about you? Because that person, obviously, we're not going to let them into our school. We're going to call for our headmaster or our principal. We also have a Raptor system, which means you're going to put your license through there. And we do all it is a sexual predator. It's not a criminal history of you. It's just a sexual predator. If they're on a sexual national registry, that will then we handle it differently. We talk about how to handle it at that point. The big deal of it was happening, red lights aren't flashing. But then how do we, as a school, how do we allow that parent into the school if they have to get in there? And then the final is, if we feel like everything is passed, then we'll open the door and let them go into our school. Compartmentalizing, keeping the doors closed, hard access systems. That's something I'm still working on down here. I don't know if I have my vendors up north. I knew if I needed a card access system, who I was going to call. I knew radios, I was going to call this communication distributor. I knew on 3M Glass who I was going to call. So it took me a little while to start to figure out who I work with, and Gateway's been pretty smooth.
Well, thank you, Robert, very much. Robert, so thank you for being here today. We are donating a book to the library in your name, and we're going to have you sign it for us with one of these pens that you can choose. It's handmade by our own red library. She doesn't do that as soon as we wrap up. Thank you to our guests that are here today. Kathy, and I'm sorry, I missed the name on the other one. Kenyatta, thank you very much. Our quote for today is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising up every time we fail. Y'all have a great week. What, Greg?
President's meeting after this one.
Oh, past presidents meeting after this one, Council of Past Presidents. Thank you.
Nice.
Can I unplug here? You know, I can just unplug. How you doing, sir?
Good, Wes Cummings.
Nice to
I'm
meet
with
you.
the Board of Education here in Golden County,
Oh.
so I was locked in on your speech and what you're talking about and all. We visit security. We have a board meeting at 3:30. Probably the number one topic. That's they want their school.